Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. We have a special guest today, Dr. George Moorman, who is a PhD.
Okay.
And he is really an educational psychologist and does, is that right? Programs and training programs and programs for youth and different things. Well, tell us a little bit about can you tell us about your past?
Okay, well, I haven't always been Dr. George Moorman. I was raised in Lexington, Kentucky. I was one of those, come from a good family. I was actually one of those troubled youth. I was actually an honor student all the way through high school, but I still took time out to cut up to the point where I actually had to spend some time in some juvenile detention centers, 5 to be exact. I went to the service to keep from going to the penitentiary. While I was in the service, went to Vietnam and got hooked on drugs, came home a drug addict, stayed on drugs for 25 years, the last 10 of which I was addicted to a $300 a day crack habit that I shoplifted to support. When I checked into the VA, I was homeless, addicted, and criminal, having several charges on my record and convictions, and was arrested at the VA because I had committed a crime before I actually checked in for treatment. The judge, Justice James Keller, used to be on the Supreme Court. He was my judge at the time. He saw fit to put me in the drug court program. So I asked if I could continue my treatment at the VA. Well, the VA and drug court came together and developed a treatment plan, the first ever in this nation involving the VA and drug court. Now we call it Veterans Treatment Court. There's a new court that they have developed, and it's kind of based on my life.
I want to ask you, you've been through a lot, and something happened and you got turned around. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Now, what I want to know is what happened that turned you around?
I was raised in an environment, because back then I was raised in a segregated black community, and everything was consistent. The church was consistent with the school, which was consistent with the family, which was consistent with the businesses. Whatever was said in either one of those venues was reinforced in all of them. The Bible says, train up a child in the way that it should go, and he shall not.
Is that what happened to you?
But it doesn't say they're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to go too far from the path. They'll come back, but they have to know where to come back to.
It says when they're old, they will not depart from it.
Knowing where to come back to and having that foundation developed first. And so I had that kind of developed. Like I said, I came from a good family, a strong family, a smart family. They used to call my family the smart people because we were all highly educated. But just realizing after a while that my purpose wasn't being fulfilled. We all have something that we're supposed to do. There's a higher power that works within all of us, regardless of what religion that we say that we are, or what political backgrounds we have, what communities we come from. There's still a purpose, that we all have. And so, even though I was...
Can I interrupt you again? You keep ringing a bell in my mind. Now, where did that purpose come from?
Where did the purpose? Well, it's instilled in everyone's life.
But some people, they want to... I remember I saw a Bible tract once and had a picture of two young people walking down a road, and the road had a fork in it, went two different ways, and each way had a road sign that says, "This is my way," and the other one says, "This is God's way." And that sort of rings true in my life, that I know there's certain things that I enjoy doing, things like that, and then it's like you said, there's a sense, there's a song that says, "It is burning in my soul." You remember that song?
Exactly.
And that is a strong influence, that there's a purpose to life, like you said.
Right. And sometimes we don't realize what that yearning is and see that fork in the road.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go my way to get to God's way.
Yeah.
Because we're stubborn creatures. We're not.
Yeah.
If we're really honest with ourselves, we were born unscathed, but in the process we chose to
We got
do
into
our
trouble.
little dirt, and then
Yeah.
when it got too much, because when we got in trouble, we always called on help from above. We
Yes.
always did.
Yes.
And so this this yearning to want to be more than mediocre, more than actually just being like the rest, and having those. I start off all my talks, speeches, sharing, or whatever you want to call it. I go into a lot of jails, treatment centers, do graduations, and interact with a lot of young people. And I always say it's about the grace of God, a lot of hard work on my part, but the support of many people, because we are not individual creatures. We have to rely on the spirit of others sometimes to bring our spirit back to where it should be.
Yes.
And so I was lucky, well, not lucky, blessed. And then I had to look at, I'm prepared now to go into the dungeons or go into those creeks or graves or whatever and resurrect people, because I was first there. All things work for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Not just the good things.
Some of these problems that you were in growing up, God has
prepared me to be the
used
soldier.
that to help other people that are in similar problems. Is that right?
Prepared me to be the soldier that I am today. When you put on that whole armor of God, it's the mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
Yeah.
And all that's developed with the transgressions, the all those issues that you faced in life. You develop what they call a tough skin,
Yeah.
thick skin,
Yeah.
so you're able to deal. Because a lot of people can't go where I can go and do what I can do and bring that hope
Yes.
and help people with their spirits. I can't go where you can go. I can't go where he can go, or vice versa. We all have our directions.
We all have a
right,
calling in life.
Yes, and that purpose is multifaceted. The world is so now, well, it's always been complex. It's been multifaceted. And so it takes people on all those levels. See, if we're going to do God's work, it can't just be one area.
Yes.
While all those other areas are operating. We have to have agents
Yeah.
everywhere doing.
God his people everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So, and the Bible says what? No man has seen God, but when we show love, God exists, God appears. So we have to interact with one another. We have to reach out and touch someone, but a lot of times the people that we touch look a lot like we and are in similar situations that we've been in. So I look at my life like, even when I was on that last year of smoking crack, I knew that there was going to be something. I can't explain it, but I knew when I put it down for the last time that I wasn't picking it up again. I
Really?
remember going into this rinky-dink hotel and said, I'm an addict, and falling on my knees and said, Lord, have mercy on me. God, look at me. I ain't nothing. I ain't worth nothing. But then something came over me. I kept smoking for a little while. And then one day, I woke up, sun was shining, and I got up and I said, this must be my day. And I started walking toward the VA. Didn't know how I was going to get there. I just kept walking and walking and walking. I said, God, just help me. Because usually I'd go past Kroger's. I'd go in Kroger's, walk around Kroger's with my buggy, order something to eat, and eat it out of the buggy while I was walking around, drink, and then leave the buggy and go to Kmart, shave, brush my teeth and everything using their products, change clothes, go out and rent a car from one of the drug dealers or something, and then go out stealing all day long. I didn't break into people's houses. I didn't rob people. I went to the stores because I saw all this merchandise. And I figured I was doing them a favor. I steal their stuff. They get the insurance for it. The drug dealer got what he wanted, and then I got my drugs. So everybody, that was the messed up thinking I had at that time. Know a whole lot better now. But then my day would start with stealing, going to meet the drug dealer, get my drugs, finding somewhere to use my drugs, and then this cycle, this vicious cycle. And see, I had PTSD too from Vietnam. You know, I actually fired this big gun that destroyed the life of a lot of people. And I couldn't understand how when we go through villages, some of the guys would run and want to take pictures with, you know, dead bodies or whatever to send back home. You know, I just couldn't. The kids run up to you, you know, and they had messed up. And I saw a little kid one time that had a stick. His leg had been blown off. So his prosthetic was just a stick he found somewhere, and he jammed it up in there. Well, over a period of time, the growth, the meat started growing over around it like it was part of his.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It just freaked me out. I ran into a guy one time that every time he killed somebody, because I was on a fire base, the rear was 30 or 40 miles, and then we were in the middle with the guns, and then the grunts went out and actually did most of the fighting. We fired the guns. The grunts would come back to our fire base for a couple of days. Some of the guys couldn't wait to get back out there so that they could kill. I mean, it's just freaked me out. One guy had this necklace on, and it still bothers me to this day. He had a bunch of ears. Every time he killed somebody, he'd take this plastic, because heroin was real plentiful over there. $2 would get you $100 worth of the purest heroin that you could find. And after you take the little blue vial to keep from being suspected, you just melt it down. Well, he melted his over ears and just stuck a hole in the ear and put it on his necklace. And he had this weird smell, this weird look on his face. Every now and then I get that smell and I freak out like he gonna show up or something. But it just, that whole situation just bothered me, so I started drinking. Started drinking like a fifth of liquor every day and using whatever drugs. I figured if I died while I was high, I wouldn't feel it. You know, that fear. I was 19 years old. I just turned 19 years old. Just developing, still just trying to even figure out who I was as a person. So, real tough situation. So, when I came home, they didn't check us out to see if we were on drugs or anything. They just bought us. You know, I was Vietnam. They didn't care if you came home or not. There's no respect for the Vietnam veteran, even to this day. You know. So when it came home, I just went right back into my community. I tried to get married and have a family and everything, but that didn't work. You know, my wife divorced me for mental cruelty. You know, how's a wife gonna understand? She hears her husband sleeping, but he's not in the bed. He's up under the bed. or out on the patio, crouched down in a position like I'm waiting on something to come, or just couldn't take it. So eventually we were divorced, and I promised I would never get married again. I did get married, just lost my other wife about a year ago, and immediately I blamed that on karma. If you do something to someone, it's going to eventually come back. And I said, for once, I finally was able to love, and then God took it from me to pay me back for something that I'd done to them people in Vietnam. Didn't make much sense because I went through the treatment at the VA to kind of help me deal with some of it. But anyway, even that has prepared me to, I know how to treat people now that are dealing with grief. So I used to always say, well, it was their time, and maybe it was their time, or what's another cliche we always say?
Their number was up.
And
Yeah.
it's just hard for me to believe that somebody can go in and shoot up a school and God have something to do with it. I think we conveniently use God, to help us understand some things that we can't really deal with. All those little babies that were killed in that school. You're going to convince me that God was behind it. The God that I serve is not that petty. And not that, I don't understand him, so I don't spend a whole lot of time trying to define God. I just allow him to be and just take advantage of being in his presence. And I know when I'm in his presence because there's love.
Now let me get back to what I asked you before,
Okay.
because that seems important.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that turned you around? You went through the war, you went through drugs, you went through all these different problems, and then something happened, and you went to the VA, and you turned your back on all this other stuff.
So see,
what caused all of that? How come you turned around? I mean,
people say turned around, but I'm still the same person. I'm just not into the same things anymore.
you got something better than the old life.
I don't know how to explain this.
Well, do you think it was like you quoted those Bible verses that raise up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old?
I had that foundation already in me, and even when I was getting high, I knew that I wasn't supposed to be getting high. And plus, it didn't take being raised that way. We all have an innate ability to praise our Creator. We're born with it, and nothing can take that away. Now, someone can come along and influence us to do right or wrong, but we know deep within our heart, because we have that God-like presence in us, greater is the God that is within us than these that are within the world. So we have that in us already, and we know, and it automatically convicts us when we get ready to do right or wrong.
You reminded me of another verse where it says, in the last chapter of Matthew, Jesus came and talked to his disciples, and he says, "Lo, I'll be with you always."
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like God was with you, and somehow
the Spirit of God is always with us. Whether we take advantage of it or not, it's still there. Omnipotent, omnipresent. That Spirit is always with us. And so it's getting to the point now where we have redefined it, misinterpreted it to be something else. When you have these people that are real arrogant, that power, they have encouraged that power, that spirit within them, and took it like it was them as opposed to the Spirit of God that dwells in them. So, and with this community thing, what people don't see in the West End, because when they talk about violence in Louisville, they always go to the West End. You got 40,000 people there. You got 3 people that may get killed over a 2 or 3 month period, and all of a sudden there's an epidemic. 3 out of 40, 40,000. When you look at the statistics of how many whites get killed in Louisville, or those accidents. See, black children have a certain way they may be more prone to dying than white children, and then white children have a way of dying. Drug abuse, suicides, and accidents, car accidents mainly. We lose a lot of kids, but we don't grieve for them. The community doesn't grieve for them because we can't, because they had them. I have a program, or I used to have a program, and I tried to have it here for the first time. It's called Happy New Youth, and I have it New Year's Eve. And what I'm trying to do is create happy new youth and get the kids to, to rededicate their lives for the new year. And I use the images and the lives of the dead youth to inspire, the living in the youth that are still here. And I get the spirits of those youth that have passed to mentor the spirits of the youth that are alive. Because like I tell them, those kids that went out that door and they never came back home, they never knew that they weren't coming back home. They left with dreams. They had aspirations. They was going to be somebody. Well, they can't be somebody, but you can. See? And so I had white children because the parents was coming and said, would you remember my daughter? Would you remember my son? He committed suicide. The only time they having vigils now is when there's violence. So we've highlighted violence. It gets a lot of attention. When someone gets killed, the cameras go right up to the mother while she's looking at her son laying there and starts asking her questions. How inconsiderate can you be of someone? And then you highlight this grief all over the 6 o'clock news. Then you come back to it at 11 o'clock. And so for this family, that image is played over and over and over again. You may be sitting in your home a year later, and then they want to highlight something about violence in the West End, and then here comes your life, and it puts a certain way of thinking. I have 4 brothers, 3 sisters, 17 nephews, and probably 12 nieces, and no telling how many younger ones that live in the West End. I'm in the West End all the time. I love the West End. I'm in Shawnee Park. I just love the West End of Louisville. And so all this that they show on the media, I don't see. These gangs of kids, like I said, it happened for that one particular instance. And so they're making it appear like it happens all the time. So some people are not going to take advantage of the beauty of downtown Louisville. I love downtown Louisville. I love that bridge. I love Main Street. I love all that 4th Street Live. I love all of that. Because Louisville's known for its restaurants, and there's a lot of eating places and a lot of good people too. Thunder over Louisville, I don't go inside the Belvedere. I sit on the outside because a lot of the entertainment is walking down the street. It's not the planes, and plus I can't hardly stand them anyway because, I want to duck sometime when I hear all that loud noise, but
brings back memories.
But I had that program, and so my thing is trying to, and I'm going to do some more programs here too, because Louisville needs it. Louisville needs some positive programs for the young people. They have a lot going on already, and it's probably why we don't see the violence that they are trying to portray Louisville as having in the first place. We were probably a pretty good city. We're on 48. You all watch 48 Hours? You watch it? You
No.
watch? Well, Louisville's on there a lot, and they bring up murders and things that happened back in the 80s or 90s or whatever. It's a TV program. They have 48 hours to solve the murder but we're on there a lot, and it gives people the impression that Louisville is just a dangerous city. But it's like I said, I don't see those issues, and most of the youth that I run into are not what has been portrayed on the TV.
What's 48 Hours? Is that who
It's-
puts that up?
It's CBS.
It's a national.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it shows they have 48 hours to solve a crime, and
Yeah.
so it's they go into different cities and do investigations. Probably another reality, but a lot of times Louisville's on there, and so it gives the wrong impression. And so right now we're talking about impression. You see this going on the news. They keep showing the same bunch of kids running past the store. Then they keep showing where some of them are coming in the store, about 20 or 30 of them come in the store. And you see some of them picking up something. Well, now they're thugs. Now they're dangerous. Now if I'm downtown and I see a little black kid or a group of black kids, my first impression is they're thugs. And if they do anything wrong, then I may have to deal with them. So now I'm packing heat downtown. I come down with my family, I'm packing heat. And so sometimes we have to be careful about who we listen to.
We're getting out of time. Tell me real quick.
We are?
We got
I thought we just got here.
Well, we just did. But tell me this, can you give me in 30 seconds, what do you think the answer is for different problems like this?
We're going to have to go back to the village concept. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a family. It takes a village to raise people from hopelessness to prosperity. It takes a village. So we're going to have to go back to the village concept. Sick villages raise sick children. If we want to say that these children are sick, but we know there are some illnesses that are in our village. But we're just going to have to go back to that community that we used to have, that we're not willing to share with one another anymore. We're not willing to share that communal spirit anymore. So I think when we go back to that total community or that village, then we'll see a lot of these issues kind of subside.
This is Dr. George Moorman, and we appreciate you showing up tonight and tuning in next week for the rest of the news.